All right, y'all, we're getting started. So today we are jumping into something very dear to me, Kabbalah. Stumbled on this from a friend and ultimately developed a multitude of different things, as I started studying stuff like this, it connected with all the things that I already knew, and then it made everything else make sense. So I really, really want to get into this type of process. I do see it slightly differently, to be honest, than let's say like the majority of people. But um, Kabbalah specifically is our DNA. It is our DNA. That is what it is. It's mitochondrial DNA. And we are structuring these things based on light. So imagine the full rainbow on this. And so what are you attaching to the genetic line through gene switches? So gene switches is gene switch. Okay. Genetic switch. So what do I want to, and this is epigenetics. What do I want to explain to you guys? So through epigenetics, what they're saying is that if you were to eat and train this way, listen to me, this is what I mean by hormonal manipulation through the foods. I'm buying back my time. You guys are seeing the real me, the real deal here. Okay, so IO means 1 and 0. That's a switch. So on, off, on, off. Okay, so what we're doing is we're hitting genetic switches. So what does this mean? That if you drink black coffee every single day, there is proof scientifically that it is to prolong your life. It creates more autophagy and apoptosis, and that's what they think the leading cause of this is that it's purposeful. It is given a purpose when you're in a specific hormonal state, specifically when you're fasted, drinking black coffee. Let me just spit the facts for you guys. So IO, all right, IO has everything to do with ones and zeros. So when I refer to binary code, when I refer to other things like this, even language, it comes down to how much light is within the code, how much etymology, numerology, alphanumerical value that is held within the words that we're speaking, the actions that we're living, and what we're doing on a day-by-day basis, et cetera, et cetera. It changes the way that our genetic structure is operating, whether it's more in connection with who we are or it's destructive, or whether it is truly helping us and we are putting destruction in its place. We're repelling things like that we are starting to up level to a degree that this is what I'm saying is that we have the capability. Like, yeah, we might have come in and had all these other different things, but it's still up to us to take accountability and responsibility for our lives, because in this, our genetic material, it's matter, maternal, it's feminine, it is mother Gaia, it's mother earth. And so when we turn on specific switches, because we're interconnected with our bodies, which is mother earth, we have water, we breathe air. Okay, you guys take in light through your eyes, and we are told that we actually digest light through our eyes. We're told that we're supposed to get this type of light, good early AM light every single day. We are told to get early AM light every single day. Are we not? Yes. So by getting early light every single day, and by speaking positive words, by being more intentional with the words that we speak, and less intentional to ever speak words that we probably shouldn't speak anymore. Forgive us that we've spoken those words. And then allowing yourself to heal curses, transcend curses and generational curses. That because you've evolved out of alcoholism doesn't mean you have to be an alcohol. It means that you can evolve out of it. So that's the main mindset is like there's people who eventually they just take a new spiritual path and they realize, like, I would rather meditate than drink alcohol. And I just have to come to the grips that I might be alone on this, or very alone on this, or close to feeling whatever. Or I might just have to find my tribe. Like, that's really what it is. Like, sometimes you guys just got to step out of the box and meet your people. That's really sometimes what it comes down to, is you just got to step out of your box and meet your people. The only way that you do that is by doing what you love and doing what you love to do and being appreciative of what you have and where you're going and who you are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For instance, genetic switches, when we switch on genetic switches, that hits certain keys. So what do I mean is if you hit enough of these dots, so if you hit enough of these dots you have like multiple dots, and you hit enough of these dots, that creates a key, you know. And so like if you have a certain shape of ones and zeros, you know, eventually it creates a key. You see what I'm saying? It's just like amino acids make up a multitude of proteins, but amino acids are the building blocks, the actual building blocks. It's more microscopic. It's more quantum. Okay. And so the more quantum you go, the more oneness happens. The more oneness and unison is in isness. It's in the present tense. It's present tense itself. And so is the matter out of connection with nature itself, meaning that it is not realizing unison in all things because it's identified with egoic things such as the 7 deadly sins, etc. And so by us creating these keys, we're unlocking certain genetic patterns to happen. Pattern meaning paternal, pattern meaning structures. So you're creating new structures of the DNA. Paternal, you're creating more patriarchal type of things where you're splitting and splicing DNA things where you are being destructive. See what I'm saying? And so the process is to unlock better patterns first and foremost, but also unlock better gene keys and better, intuitive and developed DNA, and building that DNA, mitochondrial DNA. Okay, so mitochondrial, so I'll just call it mito DNA. So that's mine. It's trademarked. Okay, mito DNA development. Electric mito DNA. Electromito DNA means electric mitochondrial, because we know that what mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It's the powerhouse of the cell. And then 2 is mitochondrial DNA is directly connecting that you can increase your mitochondria saturation, meaning that you can increase your DNA helices, your availability to be able to not only make a more potent form of genetic line, but also continue that on and become even more potent and pass that on. And so that's what I'm saying. So you can hit certain gene keys and they're at certain letters. So now I'm going to give you guys these. Look, so if it's like this is a key, and 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 this is a key. Okay. You guys see what I'm saying? So there's different keys because those have different alphanumerical values. Okay, alphanumerical values. And I'm saying eventually this goes back to Hebrew, which is actually alphanumeric, but it's important that we do see the etymological value in certain words because they had previous languages. They had previous, linguistics that created this shadow language known as English. Okay. And so you're going to have different things. Like this one kind of looks like an F. This one really kind of does look like an F. See what I'm saying? So it's very interesting when you look at it. Also, you can see different shapes in this. There's different geometrical patterns, platonic solids, tetrahedrons, tesseracts, all these other different types of, divine, sacred geometrical shapes that are made by God, okay, that are made by God. This is what I'm saying. So this is what I'm saying is living being, G being, okay? They're somebody who is a living being. They are forever living. And so this is it's immortality because you have activated certain keys within the genome to where the code to the reality is that I'm beyond the reality. I'm beyond the reality and I can communicate differently with the reality. It's very powerful. It's a 1 of 1. It's a 101 or a 303. Someone who has 3 within 3 or 1 within 1. You guys know what I'm saying if you know what I'm saying. Okay, so the mitochondrial DNA, the way that we can be able to activate the IO and the genetic switches is by doing certain habits, by activating certain activity within the DNA by doing that activity. Activating certain activity within the DNA by doing that activity that activates that part of the DNA. You see what I'm saying? So by us starting to do more things that will, and we know this through the studies, through the things that we can do. And so by you reading about genetic switches, by you breathing about genetic switches, like you're breathing and you're contemplating, wow, I'm changing my genetic, switches right now. the more consistent you are with that, the more disciplined you are with that, the more that you're going to show up as a disciple, and the more it's going to be easy for you to disciple yourself, but easy to show up for others and disciple them. You're going to be a walking revelation. You're going to reveal yourself amongst them. And that is also you starting to step into your light and being that light to where it doesn't dim even if someone tries to throw some shade. it doesn't dim even if people try to throw shade. So that's what I'm saying is like it gets to a certain level to where you start to develop yourself beyond. All right. It's about seeing beyond. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. All right. Let's get into this. So genetic keys, genetic markers, what you can do is you can activate, and I want you guys to look up gene keys. So I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to go to gene keys. I'm going to go to my ChatGPT for a second so you guys can see this. Okay. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to move myself to that one. There we go. Okay. So the main process of this is that there's 64 gene keys. All right. There's 64 gene keys. They mirror the 64 codons in DNA. So there's 64 codons in the DNA, guys. Okay. There's literally 64 codons. There's only 64 ways to put a code onto the DNA. Okay. Of DNA. 64 codons of DNA. So this is kind of like proteins. You know how you have like 22 technically, but 20, amino acids. There's 22 technically, just so you guys know. But the other two are stops of proteins. They're stops. So they don't ever count them. Crazy, right? But that connects directly to the 22 paths of Kabbalah DNA, which literally looks like a ladder. It looks like Jacob's ladder. It looks like initiation and being able to be initiated into a high lineage. Okay, and living that, being that. 64 codons of DNA. Okay, so this means that we're activating these codons different ways through different gene keys. There's a shadow. So that's the lower expression of how you would express that one gene key. Okay. The gift is the integrated state when you start to move in the present tense and integrate it into the state of beingness. And then the siddhi, the siddhi, which is ultimately just meaning like connectedness, oneness, unison, living like a living embodiment, highest frequency, divine expression. Direct correlation systems. So the I Ching is getting into the 64 hexagrams, which is literally the direct connection to human design, the 64 gates and the Rave Mandala, which is directly connected to the 64 codons, 64 gene keys. I'm not even capping, y'all. This is literally all the same thing. So genetic code, the genetic code is like crazy. It's crazy developed. Like the way that we can express this, and I'm going to keep going. Okay. So the genetic codons, the amino acids and proteins, these are literally exactly what I'm saying. So the amino acids build proteins. These proteins are activated by certain light and different things like this that they don't really tell you about. But that's also the way that we are developing ourselves mitochondrially. So the 64 codons, DNA expresses through the codons triplets of nucleotides. Now it makes sense, doesn't it? Because we know what nucleotides are. Okay. So codons are just triplets of nucleotides. They're just triplet bundles or quadruple or quintuplet, I'm sure in certain cases, but they just don't say it. But triplets of nucleotides, which builds what? Amino acids, which forms proteins, which shapes your body, your brain, and your chemistry, your chemical ability to create itself. What? You've been connecting 22 amino acids, 22 paths of Kabbalah, 22 major arcana, the hero's journey stages. Technically, there's 22 of those because it's the fool's journey, which is from Kabbalah, which is the tarot. And so that's what I'm saying is like people think, which is the Torah. It's literally the first 5 books. It directly connects to all of this. The light codons equals the information carried through our frequency. Okay. light code is information carried through our frequency. So our bioluminescent field on a day-by-day basis, the electromagnetic fields, photons, bioelectricity signals that are emitting themselves within the body through what? A multitude of different bioelectrical magnetic processes. Vision, okay, light goes into the retina, communicates through what? Neurons and a multitude of probably nucleotides and other things, neurotransmitters and stuff, and it communicates with the brain. When you breathe in oxygen, it creates prana flow or pranic, it opens up the pranic engine. And then how much are you filled up in your regular stomach and limiting that flow or kinking that direct line to the pranic flow? And we don't ever talk about that. How oxygenated is your body on a day-by-day basis? Like, are you overly oxygenated and saturated with oxygen, meaning that you are living in a higher frequency? If you actually think about it, carbon is 6, okay? And then nitrogen is 7, which when you actually have more nitrogen in your body, you can build a lot more muscle, okay? And then what? Number 8 is oxygen, which is 8, which is an infinity symbol. And then oxygen is spirit and ruach. And then that one is even higher on the periodic table of elements, okay? So when we live as elemental beings, we start to realize something greater, okay? That's what I'm saying. It's literally what I'm saying. And we can do this through activating certain types of gene keys, certain types of bioelectrical signals that we're turning on because we are listening to certain sounds every single day. We're listening to certain, we're doing our breath work. We're walking. We're doing our light frequency type of activation. We're doing our affirmations. We are working on a day-by-day basis. We're eating the clean foods. We're stepping up and we're stepping out. We're being different. We're being, higher vibrational when it comes to what we're actually cultivating. That the development of this is extreme. Okay, let's keep going. Activation pathways. Activation pathways, triggering autophagy, influencing mitochondrial function, altering your nervous system, opening up the receptivity of the nervous system through genetically switching the key by changing what key you're putting into the lock. And so, like, how like one key can open all locks, but not all keys can open all locks. Does that make any sense to you guys? So there's one key that it's from the key maker, bro. You're the one, and you have to open a specific door, and it's specifically, it can open all other doors or only one specific door. And then you can walk through that door, and that door will change you forever. Literally, you're walking through, you're just going through the best type of door. Your nutrition gives you amino acids. It develops yourself with organ meats, minerals, giving yourself raw material to express your genome a specific way, giving your signals of your light codes a specific strength through the minerals. So you're mining alchemy chemicals. You're mining chemicals or chemistry, or you're mining nutrients. You're mining what? Vitamins, vital vitamins. So vitamins means vital, and then min means mineral. So it's a vital mineral that you're seeking. And then mineral is al means alchemist, and miner means that you're mining like gold, silver. So you're adding something to your body, which is going to be able to help you have higher forms of light and be able to hold more light. And as you pattern stack, and as you develop yourself biologically, biogenetically, and increasing yourself, like through certain activity, you're adding light to that type of thing. So 72-hour fasting and beyond, you could do so many different things. You could do so many different things. Okay, so one thing I also want to get into, aligning your lifestyle practices, like fasting, kung fu, walking every day, doing daily things. Walking, getting certain frequencies. So you can do sound cymatics. People don't even think about this, but I kind of skipped this a little bit. You get sunlight, it changes the circadian rhythm, it changes the hormonal balance. Darkness is pineal activation. You can develop certain ways and frequency, but people don't really talk about it. Okay, frequencies shape matter. You can also increase your frame and your electrical field through water, because water is electrical. And so when you speak cymatic sound frequencies onto the water with positive words, you speak in Hebrew, you speak in Latin, you speak in different vibrations, then you speak that over the water carries the electricity, you drink the water, you drink the electricity, it permeates your cells and you become it. You live from that energy and it becomes you. And so ultimately that is also when you do that consistently and you're like, I am a successful trader, and you're saying that in Latin, you're saying that in Hebrew, you're saying that in higher frequency, light frequency vibrations, if you know how to speak those types of words. And that is what I'm saying. Okay, that's exactly what I'm saying. And this is amino acids. It's like, imagine speaking like the real name of God. You see what I'm saying? Like it holds a different vibration, a higher vibration. Kabbalah, Tree of Life integration, 10 Sephiro. Sephiro means Sephirim. Sephirim are like angels. They are angels. And so Sephiro is what? Light beings. They're 10 light emanations. Emanation mean it's emanating light. It's 10 different ways to emanate light, or there's different reflections of light. So there's higher frequencies of light and lower frequencies of light. And you can see this all within people, all within everything. Okay. There's certain energy centers or places of manifestation or centers of manifestation. So those to be like the physical organs, because it's organized energy. And your organs are to be organized. You're to organize them in a specific way, meaning that when you enter into a fast for 5 days, 7 days, you're going to purify and still the entire system. You're going to distill it. You're going to make it sit still. And then through that type of process, what you're doing is that you're layering a better form of activation and light consciousness into these paths. So elemental energies go into terra, aqua, air, pyro, ether. So those are the 5 different ways. And notice those are Latin forms. Those are Latin ways. So terra, aqua, air, pyro, and ether. Okay. And so each gene key is interpreted through elemental, connection. I don't really think dominance, but elemental connection. So what the elemental aspect is, the key will express itself through those 5. Okay. Energy, movement, patterns, the way you move energy through specific boundaries and structures and activity, how do you do it and how do you not do it? See, that's what I'm saying is what do you do and not do all at the same time? What are you doing and not doing all at the same time? Okay. Genetic keys tied to epigenetic expression. Gene keys are not fixed. Genes are not fixed. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry. Gene keys are not fixed. Environment and behavior, influence, activation. These things, we have the capability with the environment to be able to influence the environment through our behavioral activation. Through our activity of behavior, we influence our environment, because it's the environment that we're in and that we're here with. And so we can influence them by stacking these things: neural signaling, chemical environments, inputs. Say input output. IO is input output. So what are you inputting and what are you outputting? And then how can you connect those inputs and output carrier signals to be able to communicate with the environment? And then through that process is through thoughts, emotional habits, environments, and then developing, is it a shadow? Is it a gift? And is it a transcendent or transcendental expression? And what form of it is? So one thing we can also cultivate is the observer effect. We can go through different pathways and strengthen different expression pathways through pattern shifting, identity shifting, genetically switching our identity and entering new parallel realities, meaning that we never took CMOS before and now we're taking CMOS. That is a change in your epigenetic transition. So we can do this through helical geometry, resonant patterns. So by us learning what shapes are, what alphanumeric value is with the words that we're speaking, we can develop better activity. And then two, we can create better realities, meaning like you can tell yourself, I'm going to train every single day. And that's going to build so much more confidence than if you were to not do that or not say it out loud. The more you say it out loud and do it, the more in connection you are with your true self, So I'm going to leave this one here, guys. Peace, much love, namaste. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys in the next one.